The video wasn't meant for me. But once I heard my grandson call me a sad old man to impress his friends, I couldn't unhear it. It happened by accident. A pocket dial during a Friday night game chat. I'd answered because he sometimes needed a ride. Instead of his voice asking for help, I heard laughter. Tinny, breathless, the kind that needs an audience. "He's just a wallet with a porch," my grandson said. "Wait it out. The fund pays for everything." Someone whistled. Another voice. "Bro, must be nice." He didn't correct them. He doubled down. I sat at my kitchen table, the phone on speaker, staring at the dent where my late daughter once set down a hot pan. I had raised that boy from age 5. I'd laced up his cleats, packed his lunches, held him through every fever. And now my name fit in his mouth like a punchline. When the call finally cut, I didn't slam the phone. I washed my cup. I dried it. Then I pulled out the black notebook I hadn't touched since the day my daughter died and wrote 4 words. He made his choice. A softer man would have cried. A louder man would have stormed to his room and made a scene that satisfied nobody. I am neither of those men. I am a winter man. I do slow weather. Quiet drift until the landscape changes and no one remembers it any other way. First, I checked the college fund. It sat fat and lazy where I'd stuffed it for a decade, waiting for SAT scores and application fees. My name on every line that mattered. 2 signatures required for any withdrawal. No one had touched it, yet. I moved it into a trust with new rules and a colder lock. I named a successor trustee who doesn't pick up calls after midnight. Second, I opened the video app one barely understood and found the saved clip. My grandson had posted another video 2 weeks earlier. Him popping champagne in a parking lot, captioned "Scholarship secured." There was no scholarship. There was me. Third, I called Hank, who runs the city's least glamorous company, Waste and Transfer. He owed me from 30 years back, a roof job I did in August heat when his first baby came early. "I need a slot," I said. "Temporary. The kind that teaches a man how heavy things are." "For family?" he asked. "For a boy who needs work," I said. Hank didn't ask more. He knows the sound of a door closing. I snapped the notebook shut and set it beside my coffee maker. The plan would need patience, a witness or 2, and the kind of discipline I used to pour concrete. He'd never see the pour, only the hardened slab under his feet when he tried to jump. The next morning, I texted my grandson. "Breakfast? Saturday, 9 a.m. He sent back a thumbs up without words. Thumbs are cheap. That night I dreamed of my daughter at 8. Chin lifted, asking if I believed she could be anything. I said yes then. I still say yes, just not for free. When I woke, I wrote one more line in the notebook, beneath the first. Lesson begins Monday. He arrived late to breakfast, wearing a hoodie that said some college he hadn't earned. He hugged me with one arm and checked his phone with the other. "Gramps, you good? You sounded serious." "I am," I said. "Sit. Eat." I poured him orange juice the way I always had, pulp and ice. A ritual teaches a man what he used to be. "I saw your video," I said. Once the bacon turned quiet on the plate, instant defense. "It was a joke. You know how we talk. It's just for views." "Views," I repeated, tasting the word like a bad grape. "I heard you say I'm a wallet with a porch." He laughed without humor. "Come on, don't be dramatic. There's a special silence a house learns after a death. Mine knows it well. I let it fill the kitchen. Applications open next month," I said. "We need to talk about the fund." I watched his shoulders lower with relief. "Good. Let him. Right, yeah. Fees are crazy. Also, I've got housing deposits and—" "I changed the rules," I said, calm as February. "The money isn't automatic anymore." His mouth stayed open for a second too long. "What?" "It's in a trust now. You can access it after you hit 3 numbers. Hours, dollars, references." He blinked. Like work. Like work," I said. 1,000 hours. 6 months. Pay stubs in your name. References who aren't related to you. Gramps, that's—" He searched for a word that wasn't unfair. That's not how we planned it. We didn't plan anything, I said. I did. You waited. He pushed back from the table. You can't just, this is my future. No, I said. It's mine. I built it. You can borrow it. He stared at the pantry like it might open into a better conversation. Fine. Whatever. I'll get a job at the coffee shop. Easy. I've got a placement, I said. Starts Monday, 5 a.m. Transfer station off 12th. Safety boots required. He laughed for real this time. You're kidding. I slid a paper across the table. A simple offer letter on Hank's letterhead. Temporary labor. 40 hours guaranteed. Overtime expected. Wage honest enough to pinch. This is not my brand, he said. Your brand is hungry, I answered. Bring gloves. He stood, knocked his chair with his heel, and announced to the window that the world was cruel. Then he left, forgetting his hoodie and his dignity in my kitchen. I cleaned his plate, folded the hoodie, and placed both by the door. At noon Hank texted, he shows, he stays. He quits, he learns twice. I replied with a thumbs up, just once, to spend his language back on him. That evening I drove to Hank's yard. We walked the floor. The scale house, the sorting bay, the concrete slick with 7 kinds of regret. He'll hate it, Hank said. He's supposed to, I said. Why not just cut him off and be done? Because I'm not done, I said. I'm teaching him the only thing that survives attention spans. What's that? Wait, I said. Of things, of words. We shook hands. Monday would come like whether he believed in it or not. He arrived Monday with the wrong shoes and a story about traffic. Hank met him with a plastic hard hat and the tone only men who wake before dawn can manage. Clock in, gloves on, cell phone in locker. My grandfather said. Hank didn't look up. He said you can read a schedule. The first hour was easy. Sweeping, watching, standing in the way. The second hour introduced smell and heat. By the third, he learned that everything looks light until you lift it. Bags that swore they were feathers bit his shoulders like dogs. He stopped checking the clock when the numbers started arguing with him. At 10, I parked across the street and watched from my truck. He didn't see me. That was the point. I wanted to witness the thing you can't fake. A boy's face when work refuses to negotiate. Hank's foreman, Vic, a man whose spine was mortared with labor, kept it simple. Blue bin, black bin, don't think, sort. My grandson thought about how not to sweat, how to keep his shirt clean, how to maintain the idea of himself. The sorting belt answered by not slowing down. During lunch they gave him 15 minutes and a concrete step. He stared at his sandwich like it owed him an apology. 2 older guys, the kind who know every cheap miracle a back can pull, didn't bother him. Work has manners the internet never learned. That night he texted me, you made your point. I replied, day 1 is a point. 1,000 hours is a sentence. He didn't answer. Tuesday the sky rained something industrial. Hank moved him to the bay where the good stuff goes. Wood, metal, scraps of lives that used to be valuable. A man learns what his neighbors throw away. Some learn faster than others. My grandson met a piano that had broken more than strings. A couch that knew everybody's secrets. A crib that remembered crying. He touched none of it. He kept score on his shoes. On Wednesday, Vic put him on the compactor, the machine that squeezes chaos into cubes. Stand here, Vic said, tapping a line of orange paint. You cross it, you leave. I don't care whose blood you share. The belt hummed, the ram pushed, and my grandson flinched every time the metal groaned into compliance. A good machine teaches gentleness without asking. I showed up again, late afternoon, walked the fence line like a man checking for holes. Hank sidled over. He'll either break or bend, he said. Everyone bends, I said. The question is what they do after. On Friday, my grandson found me at the gate. He said nothing for a long 10 seconds. You're enjoying this, he finally accused. I don't enjoy waste, I said, looking deliberately past him at the mountain of it behind him. I reduce it. He waited for compassion I hadn't offered him in the video he made for strangers. I didn't apologize for the absence. Keep showing up, I said, turning toward my truck. Or don't. Either way, the fund isn't a shortcut anymore. He didn't follow me. Men don't chase weather. Weeks settle into a grip before anyone admits they're being held. He stopped bragging online. He stopped taking long showers. He stopped smelling like the cologne that promises women. He started smelling like work. Bleach, aluminum, salt. Hank's texts came short and infrequent. He showed on time today. Then he asked where brooms live. Then he lifted without sighing. The last one made me smile into my coffee. On a Sunday, I invited him to dinner. He arrived hungry and polite, 2 words that hadn't shared a sentence with his name in months. He washed his hands without being told and sat before I'd set the plates. How long? He asked, eyes fixed on the roast. Do I have to do this? Until your hours add up, I said. Until your references call you dependable without you asking them to. People record everything, he muttered. People remember more, I said. He didn't argue. He ate like a person who understands the value of protein. My daughter used to make the same face after a 12-hour shift. The complicated gratitude of being fed by a person who knows the clock in your bones. We didn't talk about the fund. We didn't talk about college. We talked about boots and backs and the way winter separates liars from roads. When he left, he took his plate to the sink without announcement. That counted for more than he knew. Tuesday he messaged me a photo. Blistered palms, smiling anyway. No caption. I didn't respond with a gold star. I sent him a link to a hardware store and told him which gloves to buy. By mid-February, Vic had stopped watching him every second. Put him on Bay 2 alone, Hank said. See if he drowns. He didn't. He coughed, he swore, he learned he did not drown. One afternoon the sorting line jammed and he cleared it without stopping the belt. Risky, dumb, brave, careful, depending on who tells it. Vic told it as competence. I took the win. The friends from the video texted him invitations that dwindled to emojis that decayed into silence. Attention is a cheap currency until it isn't. He wrote me one night, it's loud when nobody calls. I replied, learn to like quiet. It's the only place work speaks clearly. He didn't answer, which was also an answer. At the 40-day mark, Hank sent me a single sentence. He has stopped performing his idea of a man and started doing a man's job. I read it twice and folded the phone like it could crease. That weekend my neighbor Linda, who sees more than she says, brought over pie and asked how he was. Sweating, I said. Good, she said, as if she had been waiting years to deliver that blessing. I didn't soften. I didn't change the rules. I didn't add a day or offer an inch. I let the hours keep their math and the calendar keep its cold. Because the thing about winter is you don't negotiate with it. You prepare, then you endure, and if you do both, you become a person who can teach it. Mid-March, the trust's banker called to check in. Administrative tone, friendly teeth. Do you want to authorize any disbursements for spring deposits? She asked. No, I said. Not yet. My grandson showed up that evening with a paper envelope of pay stubs. Proud as a boy holding a fish. 6 weeks, he said. Look. I looked. I also saw the one missing Saturday, the day his friend's birthday promised him a different kind of sweat. Why didn't you work that day? I asked. He shifted. I traded shifts. Needed a break. His eyes dared me to turn it into a sin. You earned a day off when your crew says you did, I said. Not before. He swallowed. That's not how most families talk. We aren't most families, I said. We're the kind that outlives storms. He left angry. Good. Anger is the furnace where excuses go if you're lucky. The next morning, I met Hank and Vic behind the bay. We watched my grandson guide a forklift with the grace of someone who has learned you can't lie to machines. Vic grunted. He asks, then does. It's new. I like it. On Friday, I called the city registrar and asked about community service opportunities that aren't photo ops. The coordinator, a woman whose patience could level mountains, offered a list. Why? She asked. Because a boy whose mouth outran his manners owes hours to the world, I said. And because the world is generous only when it's sure you won't waste it. I told my grandson at dinner. You're at 186 hours, I said. Good. You need 200 of hard labor and 50 of service before I unlock anything. He stared. You're moving the goalposts. No, I said. I'm clarifying the field. What if I just take a loan? He said, bluffing. From who? The friends who filmed you? The internet? I let the question sit between us like a mirror. He pushed back from the table. You're enjoying this power. Power is what people call consequences when they prefer to discount, I said. He stood. You're cruel. No, I said. Cruelty is letting you stay the kind of man who says what you said and keeps what I saved. He left again. The door thudded like a heart resetting. That night I pulled out the black notebook and flipped to the first page. He made his choice. I added, he can make another. Then I closed it and slept exactly as deeply as my years allowed. Because justice is not a hobby. It is a maintenance schedule. And I had miles to go before I oiled the hinges. Spring does what it does to men and yards, reveals what winter hid and what needs fixing. He hit the 200-hour mark without fanfare. Hank texted a photo of a time card with coffee stains. Vic left a voicemail that said, he shows up even when nobody is watching, and hung up. I sent my grandson the list of service shifts. Food pantry Tuesdays at 6, shelter laundry on Thursdays, Saturday morning bulk pickup for seniors who can't lift a leaf bag. He wrote back, you're kidding. I replied with the address. At the pantry, they handed him an apron and a hairnet. Smile with your eyes, the supervisor said. He learned that humiliation and humility are cousins that don't get along until you make them. He carried boxes to cars that smelled like old courage. He apologized when he got in the way. He heard a man say thank you like it cost him something. At the shelter, he sorted towels and socks in silence, while a veteran told jokes that made quiet less lonely. He folded until his hands forgot to count. On the curb routes, he learned that older women tip labor with lemonade and that a wheelbarrow can feel like mercy if you push it long enough. One afternoon, he caught me watching from my truck again. He didn't call me out. He nodded. A small, adult nod. I nodded back. The friends from the Champagne video resurfaced with a spring break plan. He declined. Busy, he typed. One of them replied with a coffin emoji. He didn't answer. I did not cheer. I wrote, silence is a vote. Keep casting it. At home, he started rinsing his work clothes in my sink instead of his mother's washer. Unasked. He scrubbed the tub after. He never once asked me for detergent money. I noticed and said nothing. Then came the inevitable ask. So, about the fund, he said one evening while drying plates. I'm at 236 hours plus 50 service. I kept track. He held up a little notebook I didn't know he owned. Good, I said. Now for the references. He blinked. Who? 3 names, I said. Not family. People who would hire you again tomorrow. His mouth opened, closed. Vic, maybe, he said. The pantry lady, possibly. Ask them, I said. Not for favors, for truth. He stood there, plate in hand, fighting a teenager's ghost. And if they say yes, then you've built something you can stand on, I said. Then we talk about disbursement schedules like 2 men who respect a ledger. He nodded slowly. What if they say no? Then you learn the difference between hours and impact, I said. And you keep going. He didn't throw the towel. He hung it up. That night I took the video, the one not meant for me, off my phone and moved it to a drive in my safe. Not because I forgave. Because I wanted it where it belonged. Archived, not ambient. I slept light and woke early, the way men do when a plan is closer to complete than to begun. The first reference came from the place I least expected, the shelter. The supervisor called me, not him. You raised this boy? She asked. I tried, I said. He showed up when we were short-staffed and did the back-breaking stuff without asking for a selfie, she said. He stayed late to fix a broken dryer, then swept the floor. You can trust him. I'll tell him you said so, I answered. Don't, she said. Make him ask me. It matters. He did. He put on a clean shirt, shaved the weekend off his face, and walked into that office with his hat in his hands and his shoulders squared. When he came out, he didn't smile big. He smiled right-sized. "She wrote me a letter," he said. "Said I was dependable under pressure." "Good," I said. The second came from Vic in his own language. He flipped a used envelope over and scrawled, "Shows, lifts, listens, not an idiot." I framed it in my mind, the poetry of men who don't like poetry. The third was the hardest. He went back to the pantry and asked the supervisor who once told him to smile with his eyes. She made him wait a week, then gave him a printed sheet with words like consistent, polite, teachable. He upped his hours there without telling me. We sat at my table with 3 papers between us. "So now what?" he asked, tired bravado leaking at the edges. "Now I tell you a thing I've been saving," I said. I reached for the remote and opened his video on the TV, the one with the punchline that used to be me. He went pale. Why would you keep that?" "Because it's the last time you spoke about me without thinking," I said. "And because men should look at what they built before they ask for what others built for them." "I was being stupid," he said. "You were being believed," I said. "Buy them. Buy yourself." He stared at the floor. "Are you going to post it?" "No," I said. "You are going to live with the knowledge that I could and that I didn't. That's heavier." He swallowed. "So, the fund." "Next week," I said. "We'll meet with the banker. We'll talk disbursements tied to grades and hours. No lump sums. No shortcuts." He nodded, then surprised us both. "Thank you," he said, not as a trick but as a sentence. "Don't thank me," I said. "You paid the first installment." When he left, I put the references in the safe with the video. Paper and pixels, the 2 currencies my house understands now. The banker tried her best smile and failed. Bankers like clean lines. I brought in a maze. We sat in a glass room that pretended to be private. My grandson kept his shoulders square and his eyes forward. "I propose a stipend," I said. "Released monthly. Tuition direct to the school. Rent only if grades beat the weather." "Beat the weather?" the banker asked. 3.0 in the fall, 3.2 in the spring, I translated. "If he drops, money sleeps until he wakes it." My grandson didn't flinch. "Fair," he said. We signed nothing that day. We drafted, we revised, we built scaffolding instead of fireworks. After, on the sidewalk, he said, "You could have just cut me off." "I considered it," I said. "Then I decided I preferred work to punishment." He looked at me for a long moment. "Those the same thing?" "Depends on the man," I said. At Hank's, they threw him a breakroom party that would embarrass a camera, store-brand cupcakes, a paper plate that said congrats, and 6 men pretending not to care. Vic handed him a pair of used ear protection. "For when the world gets loud with excuses," he said. On Saturday, the Champagne friends sent him a screenshot of a flyer. A summer ambassador program with big titles and small duties. "This is more your speed," the friend wrote. My grandson typed, then erased, then put his phone down and went outside to help a neighbor move a couch. Sunday afternoon, Linda waved me over the fence. "He's different," she said. "He's tired," I answered. "Tired is how character moves in," she said. "No one likes to sign a lease when the place is messy." That evening I took him to my garage, the place my hands remember how to be useful. I pulled the tarp off my late daughter's bicycle, the last thing I couldn't bring myself to give away. "It needs new tires," I said. "Tubes, maybe a chain." He ran a finger along the frame with the reverence of a man who knows the cost of touch. "Can I fix it?" he asked. "Please," I said. We didn't talk while he worked. He learned the language of stubborn bolts and the music of air finding a tube. When the rear wheel finally spun true, he looked up at me with a face that had less boy and more person. "Take it," I said. "Ride to shifts. Leave the car to people who lie to themselves." He didn't argue. He wheeled it down the drive like an apology you earn by pushing. That night, when my house went quiet, I wrote in the black notebook, "Almost done. One last thing. Then I slept light. Morning would require a final kind of weather, clear, cold, and unforgiving. We met at my table, same chairs, same plates as the morning he learned about ours. He brought his notebook. I brought mine. We sat like men who knew there were fewer pages left than behind. I did what you asked, he said. He placed his references on the table like a stack of honest bills. Hours, service, letters, banker plan. I'm not asking for anything extra. Good, I said, because there isn't anything extra. He waited the way you wait when you've learned how to outlast a moment. So, we're good. We are, I said. But you and I are not the only people in this room. He frowned. I reached for the remote again and put the video on pause. The frame stopped on his face, mouth open mid-laugh. This was always going to be the last part, I said. You needed to see the man you were before we put money behind the man you're becoming. Why keep showing me? He asked, voice thin. Because memory slips. Records don't. I said. You want forgiveness cheap. I don't sell it. He closed his eyes. What happens to it? Nothing, I said. It stays in a safe. It stays true. It reminds both of us what we won't be again. He nodded once, like swallowing a bitter pill. Now the other thing, I said. The fund. He straightened. It's not yours. It's never been yours. It's mine, I said. I will deploy it if you keep these hours, these grades, this spine. 1 slip. We pause. 2. We stop. No debates. No speeches. You move furniture until your back tells the truth again. He breathed out through his nose. That's fair. Fair is what a scale says when nobody's hand is on it, I said. He stood to go, then hesitated. Do you hate me? I thought of my daughter's bicycle, spinning smooth under his hands. I thought of a concrete step behind a transfer station where he learned sandwich bread can resurrect a man. I hate what you said, I answered. I don't hate who you might be. He left quietly. I didn't watch him from the window this time. I collected the letters, slid them into the safe, and laid the video drive on top like a paperweight. Weight is what keeps things from blowing away. Tomorrow would be the end. Not the kind with fireworks. The kind with a lock that clicks and a house that exhale. I asked him to come after his shift. He arrived still wearing dust, apology in his shoes. He sat. I didn't offer coffee. We didn't need props. This is the part, I said, where a lot of stories get soft. He waited. I'm not giving you the fund, I said. I'm operating it. Tuition. Paid directly. Books. Reimbursed with receipts. Rent. Conditional. Stipend. Monthly. Tied to grades and hours. He nodded, jaw tight. Not a boy's pout, but a man's acceptance. And the rest? He asked. The rest goes somewhere you can't touch, I said. I set up a small program at the shelter. Laundry machines, repairs, emergency nights. In your name. Quietly. No plaques. He opened his mouth, closed it. In my name. You helped break some things with your mouth, I said. You'll help fix some with your hands. He stared at the table. So that's it. Lesson over. No, I said. Lesson installed. He looked up then, eyes rimmed red from wind or something like it. I am sorry, he said. Not a performance. A report. I know, I said. And I believe people who show up. He stood to leave, then paused at the door. You're not going to, post that video? I shook my head. I don't need to ruin you to keep you honest. Knowing I could is heavier. He swallowed. Thank you. Don't thank me, I said. Bring me a schedule. Bring me a transcript. Bring me a back that doesn't lie. He left. The house took a long breath. I poured myself coffee and sat with the black notebook open to the first page. He made his choice. Below it, today's date. So did I. Outside, the evening settled on my porch, on my wallet with a swing, on a table with 2 empty plates, on a house that has learned to survive more than grief. Somewhere across town, a boy on a bicycle rode past a window and didn't see himself in the glass. Good. Mirrors are for checking fit, not writing destiny. I put the video drive back in the safe and turned the key. Not mercy. Not revenge. Maintenance.